All right, here we are. We're live. Hey, TFWR, what's happening? Another wrestling guy on here. So we've got Joe Dubuque, nicknamed the Champ. If you don't know why, two-time NCAA champ and two-time New Jersey State champ. So he's here with us today. He's now the assistant head coach over at an amazing up-and-coming program. I think they're not up-and-coming anymore. I think they're there. We spoke to his head coach yesterday, and Coach Ayers, and you guys heard all about the program and the growth, and obviously why he brought in Dubuque and builds everything around there. So first of all, hey, how are you? How are you, Coach? I know that I hit you up a few times. You finally came in, and I know you have a son and a daughter and a family up there with you. So talk a little bit about what's been going on through this time. What have you guys been doing with your, with your guys and just keeping everybody going, family healthy and all that stuff?
Yeah. So, obviously it's been crazy for us, just like everybody else in the country. I know all over the world. Just trying to do the daily routine of, kids aren't at school, so they're getting all their schoolwork done during the day. I realized that I'm still getting a C in sixth grade math. So that's, me and my son are struggling together. But yeah, I mean, I would say the one good thing to come out of this whole thing is the fact that I get to spend more time with my family. Even though sometimes it's too much time, but in my gig as a wrestling coach, a lot of the times I'm on the road, during the week or during the weekends. And, even during the week, Princeton kind of has a strange schedule. So our practices don't start until about 4:45. So that means I don't get home till after 7:00. So that's a little tough, with my family getting home so late. But, again, the one good thing to come out of this is to spend more time with them. So, we're just trying to carry on as best as we can right now.
Awesome, man. So when you said too much time for them or for you?
Both. I think they've had enough time with mom and dad, and mom and dad have enough time with, son and daughter. So it's mutual, and we all have to take our breaks, and we all get our 1 hour of, peace and quiet somewhere else. We all have our hiding spots too. So it's
cool.
It's fun though. We try to do some things different, try and play board games. I made the fatal mistake of buying a play set and putting it up on myself. Well, actually me and my wife put it together. Took us 2 days. I swore after it was done, I was like, I'll never do this again. Never.
That's fun. I had it's like putting like floors down or something. I remember I had somebody put a floor down, and I knew they put a floor down in their house, and then we needed floors, and I called them up and I'm like, hey, come on, let's just do it. He's like, hire someone. I'm like, but you just did your whole house. I'm like, you just did your whole house. He's like, and I'll never do it again. Hire someone. Yeah. And I was like, understood. Yeah. So I figured that all out. So you came to the program in 2012, right? If I remember right, you were with Hofstra, and then you spent a year back at your alma mater, right?
I spent 3 years back in Indiana, and then just had an opportunity to come back here. Chris actually he reached out to me a year before I actually took the job with a position. At that time, it just wasn't good timing. There were still some things, I wanted to kind of see through at Indiana. And then the next year, it's a funny story. I tell it all the time. He actually called me for Angel Escobedo's number, who was a lightweight national champ for Indiana. And I was like, I was just kind of like, hey, why? Like, he's like, I have an opening, we just created a new position. So I really want to get a lightweight guy in that position. And I go, well, what about another, national champ from Indiana? He's like, wait, you would be interested? I'm like, yeah, I think.
Well, that's your hometown too, right?
Yeah, it's not my hometown, but it's about 50 minutes from where I grew up. So, and at the time my wife was pregnant with my daughter. So it was just a good time to get back to, New Jersey, get back closer to family. And honestly, with what Chris was telling me the year before, I mean, the passion he has for the program and the vision he had, I was like, man, this thing is definitely going to blow up. And I know I can definitely add a few pieces to really help the growth of the program. So, you know, it all came together. And so, you know, that's how I ended up here.
Yeah. I mean, I got to tell you and I think I think you know my uncle, Teddy Deutsch, and my aunt, Jess Deutsch.
Oh, yeah.
Princeton, yeah. So he texted me yesterday and he's like, hey, man, I wasn't able to tune in yet, but did it go well? And I said to him about Ayers, he asked me and I said, wow, that guy is so full of energy, honest, tells it like it is, and has a huge personality. You can definitely see why people win around him. Like it was constant. Like that's what I felt, and I'm on the other side of a TV or a computer. So I could imagine when his energy is going and you're in the room.
He's got a lot of passion, man. A lot of passion for the program. And, you know, again, it's easy to buy into what he's selling. You know, I mean, again, that's what it's all about. It's all about people. He says it all the time. It's all about people. You know, people make the program. So he just continues to bring in good people that could really add, you know, their slice of personality or their expertise.
And he definitely likes to talk a little shit. Because he's like, my guys are tougher than your guys, and I don't care what you say.
That's right.
He's telling you right. Like, he's like, I don't care. Anybody can argue with me. Like, he's a fan. Like, he thinks you guys should have like pressers before matches, so people can be up there like yelling at people. That would be pretty dope. So man, that's cool. So you came in 2012. The team's grown immensely since then. I know that it was ticking in the direction of going up, and in plugs you. And what do you think? What do you think you brought into the program that kind of helped ignite it to the next level?
I mean, you know, just coming from the Big Ten, where I competed and where I coached, I think I kind of, you know, brought a little bit of like, just, I don't know, just overall toughness. I'm not saying that, you know, Ayers and Coach Gray aren't tough. I mean, they're definitely tough guys. But, you know, just to come, you know, from a program from the Big Ten and just bring that type of wrestling into Princeton, it kind of shocked the guys at first. Just a sense of hand fighting and things like that. I mean, that's something we preached a lot. It was like, you got to be tough. You know, I mean, you can have the best technique in all the world, but if you're not tough, you're not going to be able to finish, or you're not going to be able to get off bottom, or you're not going to hold somebody down. It's like, and all that stuff is like being tough. It's all a choice, you know, like you're not born with it. It's not something like it's in your DNA. That's something that you could be tough at any moment, in any match, in any situation. So, you know, we just continue to preach that. And I think that was probably the one thing that I brought. And, you know, I have a big personality. So, I mean, I like, you know, again, blowing things up and, you know, being crazy on the side and going, you know,
your personalities just fit for that program, huh?
Yeah. I mean, and that's what you need. I mean, you need, especially when I first got there. Yeah. I mean, we're getting a little bit of growth, but I think, you know, if you looked at our social media, it's like, all right, yeah, we're not getting the wins and losses, but if you looked at 2013, our social media was like, man, these guys are having fun. Even though we're not winning a lot, we're having fun, and we're creating a unique brand that people are actually kind of coming out and like, man, this is really cool. Just imagine what's going to happen when they do start getting those studs.
It sounds like he's like a scientist too, like schedule wise. Like he was saying, you know, I started to build schedules to just kind of help us get better. But also I knew that if 50% we win and 50%, well, there we go. Now, if we get into that 50%, now we're in the top 25, you know, like he just seems like he's thinking about every move and everything you guys do.
He's easily one of the most organized coaches I've ever been around. Again, He's very thorough in everything he goes. He goes through, like, again, he has training plans for every single day dating back like 5 years. I mean, he literally keeps every single day, and he'll go say, hey, like this week last year, we didn't have a good training period. Why? Why didn't we train well? Or why didn't we compete well? Like, hey, we wrestled like shit here. Why did we wrestle bad? And he goes back at that training plan the year before and be like, we had 3 guys sick, or we definitely scheduled way too many matches, or we had midterms and our guys had a ton of papers. Like he takes everything into consideration when he's really kind of, building this thing, and he leaves no stone unturned. And I think that's something that really has caught in with me. Like, you're not, even though we're doing well, you could always be better. You could always do things better. Like, I think that's something that, once you get content, then that's when you start slipping and people start catching up to you. So I think for him, he's always trying to get that edge, trying to improve things. And, until
it feels like it was a perfect fit for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's all. Yeah. And meanwhile, he turns around and in the same week, he books Oklahoma State and Iowa.
And we told him he was crazy, but you know what? Like, coming from that, if you have a chance to wrestle Oklahoma State and you have a chance to wrestle Iowa, that's the only date they can wrestle, you make it happen. Doesn't matter. You make it happen.
Yeah. And hopefully one day you guys get to the point where they're wanting you in the gym.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
So talk about your relationship with Patrick Glory. I was doing a little bit of research, and a lot of stuff that I was reading has almost like a little brother to you. He's kind of taken to your mentorship. From what maybe his little brother and your son wrestle together or something. Yeah. I was reading. So talk about that relationship and what has it meant to both of you?
So I first met Pat actually. It was probably 7 years ago. He started coming to our camp, to our summer camp. So I met him when he was in 8th grade, going into 9th grade. So the relationship kind of started there, just from him coming to camps and things like that. And then obviously when he became a junior and we started recruiting him, the relationship grew even more. I was probably the guy who talked to him the most, just because, again, I'm going to be the guy rolling with him. So, you want to build that relationship. And then when he got to Princeton, we got to work right away. And that guy, he's got high goals. He works his butt off, and he's probably one of the most coachable kids I've ever been around. So he trusts me within the training, whether it's technique or, again, just the general training of wrestling. When I'm wrestling with him, he really takes to my coaching. And like, if you put us side by side, we're very similar mentality wise. He's got a lot of screws loose, as I do. So we kind of feed off of each other. And
he's definitely he's in a weight class that is definitely owned by someone. So it'd be good to see him.
Well, that's the thing. Pat doesn't think that, he owned it
as the wrestler. Yeah. As the wrestlers, from a fan's point, you're like, man, he's going to beat that guy. Right. And then, but from a wrestler standpoint, you're like, I want him.
Here's the thing. Like, I've seen crazier things. I've been around D1 wrestling for a long time. And the one thing I can tell you, there are no locks. There are no definites. There are, and I thought this back when I was younger, a younger coach recruiting. Oh man, that kid's definitely going to be a 4-time All-American, or that kid's definitely going to be a multi-champ. And then they turn out to be a buster, or they don't do any of that stuff.
Or they get caught, right?
Yeah. The thing is like, what you did in high school, it's only a fraction of what it actually takes to be successful in D1 wrestling. So
it seems like those middle weights, man, at the NCAA are so that's got to be the toughest weight classes, right? What's it, 125 up into the 140s?
They're all tough. I mean, and it's all year by year. You know, some years, you know, the lightweights are killers, and some years the heavyweights are killers. It goes in ebbs and flows. So I mean, yeah, I mean, probably the middle weights are probably the most dense. You know, the densely populated with just kind of blue chip kids, because, you know, there's, you know, that's where all the, you know, the blue chippers are, you know, between probably 26 and 45. I mean, that's where they all are. And
I think that brings eyes to the TV too. I mean, like anything else, nobody wants to watch two big guys hand fight. They want to see two little guys kind of scramble and roll and run around, right?
I think, well, I mean, if you look at the heavyweights, man, they scrap, dude. They're wrestling, they're athletic. I mean, the days of guys just standing around hand fighting, I think, are kind of long gone. Now it's just the philosophies of being aggressive and scoring is being pushed all over the country. You know, every single coach is really kind of pushing that philosophy of like, hey, let's score more points. Let's score more points. Let's be aggressive. Awesome. Let's be the aggressor. So I think
that's not like the UFC where, you know, oh, this is going to be over in 10 seconds. These two big guys. Somebody's going to throw a bomb. It's going to be done, right?
Yeah.
Oh, man, it's crazy. Well, that's good. It's obviously paid off, the relationship, because he is doing pretty damn good in his college career. And it's good to have that rabbit to catch. So it makes you work harder, I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, believe me, I'm not the guy. I'm not the reason for his success. All right. He's successful because he's a worker. He attacks every single position, you know, with a mindset of, I want to get better. 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 So, you know, I'm just the guide, you know, just trying to guide him in the right direction. He's going to be successful. And, you know, again, it's because of who he is. I mean, his mentality is when he steps on the mat, when he steps on the line, he believes wholeheartedly that he's the guy who's going to win. And that's big in this sport.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, hey, listen, coaching does matter too. I mean, just like managing, it does. You can have a terrible manager and you can just fail. So having a good coach around you that gets along with you, but knows how to push your right buttons, means something. So a lot of stuff I researched talks about your passion, man, that when you get out on the mat and you're in the corner, you just kind of lose it all the time. Not lose it in a bad way, but just kind of, you're very passionate, I guess would be the word, in the corner. Where talk about that. You're not like a quiet guy. You're up there.
I would say I lose sense of where the boundaries are in the mat. So I find myself very, very close to the actual competition circle. I think, you know, again, it's because I'm in there with the guys. I mean, when you're in there with in the trenches with the guys, you're more invested, and their losses are your losses, their wins are your wins. It's like it's like that's your kid out there, right? Exactly. I mean, every single one of them. You know, I'm fighting and clawing and wrestling 7 minutes every single match with those guys. And I'm not saying I care any more than anybody else, any other coach, but that's just who I am. That's just my personality. And you wear it on your sleeves. You're going to know what I feel. You're going to know, you know, some coaches are better at keeping it in, but that's cool. Yeah. Cause I read where like Chris had to hold you back a couple times where you were losing your mind, but it's all in good. It's all in good. Just, you know, Daniel, I don't know how familiar you are with North Jersey, but if you are familiar with North Jersey, that's what I am. I'm North Jersey personality, mentality wise. You're absolutely going to know how I feel all the time. You're not going to have to guess. Well, my aunt and uncles are from Paramus, so. There you go. So you know. So this next question is probably the most important question that I wrote down here. Who's a better dancer, you or Chase? Oh, it's getting good. He's getting good. I will say that. My wife loves doing these little like dance nights with my daughter and my son. And my son definitely has some really good rhythm, and he's impressive. I'm going to say he's not better yet, but he's catching up, right? Just like in wrestling, right? He's not better than me yet, but he's catching up.
How old is he?
He's 12.
So who's got the better ground game?
You mean on the mat?
Yeah.
I mean, he's only 65 pounds. So, whenever I feel like he's going to score, I just kind of, throw my weight on him a little bit. But it's actually pretty cool that we're getting to the point where I could actually drill with him and I can wrestle with him. We have a mat in our garage. I actually put a little something on Instagram Live about a week or two ago of just me and him kind of sparring. And it's really cool. It's not just about wrestling. It's really about the whole mentality and just, picking a goal and working towards it and really just kind of being invested into the achievement of of that goal. That's.
Oh, sure. And you have a daughter too, right? Sienna or something?
Yeah, Sienna.
Is she wrestling as well?
She did. She just finished her first year of wrestling. We have it's called Cubs. It's a Cubs program. It's for 5, 6, 7-year-olds at the Princeton Wrestling Club. So she just finished it. She's coming along. I don't know whether she really is doing it because she wants to do it or it's because I do it and she wants to spend time with me. I try and tell her that, this is for you and do it because you want to do it, but I'm going to support her in everything she does. I did say like, hey, you should try wrestling because it's a great sport and it goes well beyond just the things you can do on the mat. So
especially being a girl, I think that the mindset that wrestling gives you, just the confidence. Let's face it. I mean, being a girl in our world is a lot more difficult than being a man, and it shouldn't be that way, but it is, right? So to give a girl confidence and give girl to grow up with that mentality, like, hey, you're not gonna mess with me. I can scrap with you, right?
And and she doesn't even have to look at me. She can actually look at the other parent here in the household. My wife Jamie, she actually wrestled in high school. So she was, the only girl on a all boys team. So she wrestled. She's actually our announcer at Princeton. She announced at the NWC or NWCW or the women's nationals in Michigan. Cool. It was the first time. So she went out there and announced. And so that's something that's really important for me is to, have my daughter see my wife at practice, helping other boys and girls, and also seeing me and my wife in the corner. Me and my wife are in the corner coaching my son. And actually, here's the thing. You think I'm crazy? My wife is 100% crazier than me in the corner.
I don't think you're crazy, but the internet does.
So, hey,
Google does.
Daniel, if you saw, me coaching, you would definitely be like, yeah, that guy's a little crazy. But my wife, I got to actually pull her back. I'm like dragging her. She's even more animated than I am. But
do you get Chloe to roll around with her?
So I mean, Chloe's rolled around with her. I've rolled around with Chloe. I mean, that's the thing.
She's a stud, huh?
She's a super stud. I mean, she's driven. She's tough as nails. Her technique is like it's growing every single day. She's getting better and better. She just has a drive. Wrestlers that have that drive are going to be successful. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Now, how old is your daughter?
She's 7.
Yeah, so I don't have a daughter. But I'm not like I wasn't born in 1920 either. So I believe let girls do what they want to do, right? As far as this sport. And from what I understand, Jersey got sanctioned, and I know that your head coach was very, very involved in that. He had mentioned to me. But now being a girl's dad, that's got to mean a lot. That you don't have a daughter that's in high school going, okay, great, now she'll get a couple of years. You got a daughter that the future is being built for her in your state. because it's sanctioned now, right? And you guys had
Yep.
over 700 girls, and that's insane.
It's amazing. It doubled. Chris's wife, Lori, was also instrumental in just getting everything in place to sanction girls wrestling, and to get the state tournament. She spent countless hours being in meetings and, just getting everybody in the same place, on the same wavelength. That's the important thing. It's like, why wouldn't we do this for girls? If you do it, they're gonna, girls want to do it.
They're fighting for it here in Florida. I had early on when I started this show, I had, 30, 40 people on one Zoom call, and it was state champ girls and coaches and girl wrestlers. And they're trying to get it sanctioned. They keep saying, oh, we've gotten this far. There's one more thing to go. And I don't get it. The state tournament, they have a state tournament, but it's not sanctioned, right? And the state tournament this year had 360 girls or something at it. So why not give them the Butch Hildebrand, haha, it's the real Joe Exotic. That's funny. So, yeah, I don't get it either. And listen, I understand the thoughts of some public schools and private schools, and I get that they're worried about the commingling, but the ones that are wrestling already, it's been happening. And you know what? Who cares? Just let them come in and wrestle. But whatever. So I was told that you and Mena used to roll around a lot. Went back in Indiana, Coach Mena.
Oh, and, Mena, Coach Mena.
Mena, is that how is it, Mena? So who used to win in the room?
Well, it probably took me a solid 2 years to get a takedown on him. He would not give me anything. That guy was tough as nails. Honestly, he gave me some of the worst beatings early in my career that I was like, holy crap. But yeah, then towards the end, it was kind of even. Obviously he was getting older. I was getting older and better. So, he taught me a lot. Again, he taught me a lot about just being tough. I would look at, I kind of told this story on Flow Wrestling a couple weeks ago, but I would be, my junior year, I would be training. I'm at the best shape of my life. I'm training every single day. I'm doing all the morning runs, all the morning lifts, and I'm wrestling for hours at practice. And he's for most of the parties, drinking a coffee, watching, he's definitely not training as hard as me. But yet, anytime I'd say like, hey, let's roll, like me and you want to go live today? He'd be like, yeah, definitely. Roll out his neck, do a half a lap, stretch out, and then he'd wrestle for me for an hour, and it'd be the hardest hour of wrestling I'd have, all year. So,
and he'd go back and sit down and grab his coffee, right?
And he's and I just knew, I was like, man, that's just like being tough, man. Like he's like, he just knew, like, I'm just gonna wrestle hard for an hour and that's it. Like, and that's why I take that, toughness is a choice. Like it's a choice to be tough. It's a choice to, like, when you go out of balance to hustle back to the center, or it's a choice when you're broken down in your belly on bottom to build back up to your base. These are all just kind of choices that you can make, and just everything else in actual live wrestling too. When you're in the practice room, when you want to stop after 10 minutes, you keep going. And then in 5 minutes, maybe that guy's going to break. So, he was something special. And I think that was something I needed as an athlete coming in at that point. I thought I was pretty good just from a wrestling standpoint, but I could always get better, just in the mental state of wrestling. And I think that's something he really helped grow, in my wrestling, was just kind of the mental side of it.
He's at Cal State Bakersfield?
I think he's actually the women's coach at Missouri State.
Okay, maybe I saw, because I talked to Lightning. I talked to Luke Smith from Cal State Bakersfield, but then when I was looking up Mena, I saw a picture of him there. Maybe he was there and left.
He was there. I think he's the head coach at, I think it's an NAIA school in Missouri. Not not
that division
sure.
is really growing, huh? The NAIA.
Yeah. I mean, especially on the women's side too. I mean, they're adding women's wrestling all over the place. From a women's wrestling perspective, it's awesome. It's awesome for the sport.
The more platforms, the better, right?
Definitely.
Hey, so were you at Indiana with LeBlanc?
I was. So Ryan's freshman year was my first year on staff. So I was there for 3 years with him. He's done an awesome job at App State. Really, it's awesome to see kind of how he's grown into a really good coach. And because you really never know what guys are going to do after wrestling. Like he was a great student, and he excelled in the classroom. So I thought he was gonna, might go into the business world or private sector or something like that and get a really good job. But
man, is he like a machine as far as like in shape? I mean, like I remember standing in the gym because my son went to camp, and I look out in the door, and he's full speed for at least an hour on the treadmill. I mean, like running like he's running from the cops.
Yeah. Again, I think we all, when you go through 5 years of D1 wrestling, a lot of screws get, loosened. So like the things you do in that 5-year period, they just kind of carry over into real, into your other life. And so you just kind of have that craziness everywhere.
One of his guys who he spoke about when I had him on the show was a guy that, like, he was the backup this year a little bit, didn't get too many chances, and then boom, he got a chance and he just took it and ran with it and made it to where he qualified. But I remember talking to him, and the kid said to me, "Oh yeah, he's still training for the Olympics in his head. We can't compete with him. He's still running. He takes them up that mountain and stuff." But I asked him over there. I said, "I know you guys have a really good football team, but if the football team challenged you guys on that mountain, how bad would you smoke them?"
Yeah,
I would get him. Hey, so I've got these 10 questions. Can I ask them?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, and I think I added. I think I added a couple just for you. So, but we'll go through the main part. So you're down by 3, going into the third period, and you have choice. Are you going top, bottom, or neutral?
Well, I would say probably 99% of the time I'm going down, except if I have Nick Simmons, and then I'm going neutral. Okay. So if I'm wrestling Nick Simmons, I'm going neutral. If it's anybody else in the country, I'm going down.
I had Nick Simmons on. Did you see it?
No, I did not. That's awesome.
I was looking up some high school records after I talked to him, and his name was still up there.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, wow. Did he ever lose?
So I was his only loss in high school.
Nice. Because I looked at his record. It was crazy. And that's funny, but you talked to, and then you guys were in the room together, right? It's like I asked, my son asked Spencer Lee about being in the room with DeSanto, because that was his only loss in high school. And he's
Simmons was at Michigan State. So we actually wrestled a lot against each other. Actually, we didn't wrestle a lot, but we were, in the same weight class my whole 5 years that we were there.
Oh, so but you were friends, yeah? And he was like, he beat me. So what? I told him, hey, come to Iowa. That's what he said to me. Okay. So freestyle, folk style.
I was a folk style guy. I wish I would have got into freestyle a little bit more. When I was in high school, I was actually a football player. So during the summer, when everybody was training for Fargo, I was actually, doing captain's practices and lifting and stuff like that. So that's probably my one big regret, that I didn't do more freestyle in high school. And
will you? So you'll probably make sure that Chase doesn't make that mistake. You'll make sure.
So we were planning on this year was going to be his first year, kind of getting into freestyle. He's also a multi-sport athlete. He played. He actually ran track and played football in the fall. He does wrestling in the winter, and then he was going to do track and actually going to do golf a little bit this spring, while also mixing in some freestyle stuff. So obviously with the coronavirus, we weren't, not able to do that, but actually we're going to get some freestyle work in the garage. So,
good.
He's definitely going to get some work.
So headgear or no headgear?
No headgear. No headgear. It's funny because my ears were clean, didn't have any cauliflower ear. With about 2 months left of my 5th year at Indiana, my left ear blew up, and then I actually was good. That one was my only time doing that, and then my right ear blew up about 3 years ago. So now they're kind of like they're a little gnarly.
So this next question is either for you as a wrestler or maybe your team or your club or whatever, but only one day available to train. Do you go to a rumble or a clinic?
What's a rumble?
Like a live?
Oh, like just like live practice?
Yeah, so like, I don't know, a Saturday and there's 400 kids in a room. Like when a club has like a Saturday from like 9 to 1 and there's... And
they just wrestle live?
Yeah.
So you said you have one day?
One day, yes, sir. Rumble or clinic?
Actually, repeat the question real quick.
Only one day available to train. Do you go to a rumble or a clinic?
Oh man, I think it has to depend on where you're at, right? I think it's where you're at in your wrestling. If you're an elite kid and you're doing really well, maybe that rumble or that live will do a lot more than the clinic. Now, if you're a beginner, or maybe you're not having the success that you might want to have, maybe you go to clinic and improve on some of the technique or even add some more things to your arsenal. So I think it really kind of depends on the kid and where they're at, just kind of within their, where they're at as a wrestler.
Sure. And I'm sure it depends on, I don't know who's doing the clinic with the question, right? I sent out the question back, but yeah, I'm sure you have Knopf at a clinic. You're probably going to the clinic, right?
I mean, yeah, I think that's something, you have a guy that caliber, you want to see, what makes him tick and what, what he's showing, and who knows, it might be something really, really great, or it could be a standard single leg. And he's like, hey man, everybody, if you want to be an Olympic champion, you hit a single leg. So who knows?
Yeah, he's not doing too bad for himself. So who wins the rematch, Loudon Swain or Brian Shute?
Oh man, I love that movie too, but that was a hard scene to watch. Now that at first when I first was in wrestling, I was like, man, this is such a great. And then now I look back, I'm like, oh my God. I'm gonna go ahead and say probably Shute. Shute wins that one.
You don't think in real life he catches him with a lat drop?
Nah, I don't think so.
A funny story I tell people is I just watched the movie this weekend. Never seen it before in my life, for the first time ever. And when I sent out a text message or a message on Facebook like, hey, I want to adjust these 10 questions, send questions in. So one of them was that. So for like the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I've probably had 30 shows. I've been asking the question and I have no idea what I'm asking. And then I watch it this week and I'm like, okay, well now I said, I better go watch this thing because I'm asking these questions. I don't even know what the, so I told Palazzo that. He laughed. Which title, in your opinion, holds more prestige, the 32 or the Fargo?
Fargo. I think Fargo is the most prestigious high school tournament in the country. And that's coming from a guy who, was a folk style guy. I think, the best of the best go out to Fargo. And I mean, I think that's just, and it's the thing that probably best simulates the NCAA tournament. So if you look back and you look at the Fargo champs and the Fargo All-Americans, those guys are the ones who are winning nationals, who are, placing multiple times at the NCAA tournament. So I would say Fargo.
What's more dominant, a pin or a tech?
Ooh, so I wasn't a pinner. I mean, Coach Gray on our staff will definitely disagree with me, but I think a tech is a lot Would you say harder?
More dominant.
More dominant. I would say I think the tech is more dominant just because, I mean, the fact if you could beat your opponent by 15 points, I mean, that definitely shows where, I mean, it could be a close match. It could be, you could be winning 5-4 and crank a guy
caught.
over or get caught. But yeah, I think the tech fall is definitely more dominant.
Yeah, I had Ethan Basile on, 2-time state champ down in Florida, and he's going to Northern Iowa, I think. But I had him on yesterday, and I asked him, and he goes, definitely a tech, because when you get tech, you gotta rethink your life on the mat. So when you, that's what he said. I was laughing. Do you go wings or a burger?
What's that?
You prefer wings or a burger?
I'm a burger guy. Yeah, I do like wings, but if I have to make the choice, then I'm going burger.
Taylor ham or pork roll?
Come on now, Taylor ham. North Jersey, baby.
North Jersey.
Ham, I don't even know what pork roll is.
All right, here's the big one. Jersey wrestling or the country?
Jersey, baby. Jersey against the world, always.
Jersey against the world, always. Yep. Perfect, man. That's awesome. Yeah. I made those all up on my own. I had no help by Butch Hildebrand. He didn't help me at all with those questions. That was all me.
Oh, that definitely, that smells like Butch. That definitely, there's a lot of Butch in those questions, without a doubt.
Yeah, he did help me out a little bit. So that's cool. Hey, man, I really appreciate you coming on. And it's been, obviously, my aunt and uncle are involved in the program, and they went to school there. So I have a 14-year-old and 11-year-old, and I think since they were born, he's sending them Princeton hats and Princeton shirts, and
that's awesome.
And telling them all about Princeton. And we were going to come up. This was going to be the first year that I brought at least one, maybe two, up for the camp this year. We were going to bring them up. So maybe next year now, God willing, everything
hopefully
floats through and we get up there. So thanks, I appreciate it. And I mean, I always ask a guy from sales, I always do this at the end, if there's any referrals you can send me for people that can come on the show that are good for the show, whether they are wrestlers or coaches or anybody that has a great wrestling story. I don't discriminate. I don't.
Absolutely.
Whether it's Pat Glory or the 8-year-old, that is kicking butt at a gym, and talking about it, So I like to talk to them all.
Well, Daniel, I really appreciate you having me on. This is a really cool thing that you're doing. Like you said, the wrestling community is a tight-knit community, but, and when you're in, and I think that's what really, keeps people, even when they're kids, go on to, not wrestle anymore, after they graduate or whatever, and their competitive career stops, they keep going to either matches or they're continuing to follow on the computer or whatever. So, it's funny. It's like once you're in the wrestling world, you never leave.
And it seems like they're getting educated. They're going to school, they're going to college, they're using wrestling as their tool, they're getting opportunities. And I just very rarely, are there some meathead jocks out there, whatever the term is, right? But you don't run across them as much in wrestling as you do. You may think they're a meathead, and then you talk to them and they're talking to you like the most knowledgeable person you've ever spoke to. You're like, how the hell did that guy just beat the crap out of him? And he's like, well, yesterday I was in a business meeting and I was doing this. And you're like, where'd that come from, right? So it just, the room really creates amazing people is what I'm learning. And it's starting to do it to my son, and God willing, he takes the track too. And sure, I'd love to see him excel at the highest level, but I just like that he's part of a sport that he cares about, that drives him, and that is going to be part of his life forever. There's not, the culture of it is just instilled in you, is what I think. It's my opinion, but that's why I'm here doing it.
It's awesome.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much. And God willing, I get up there one day and I get to see you guys after all this and get to meet you or somewhere.
You got it, man. Well, hey, best of luck. All right.
Yes, sir. Thanks for talking to me.